Hey, I'm Global Kristen, and I'm going to share something super vulnerable and personal because that's just something that I do. I don't know, it feels therapeutic and it has so much to do with my life right now that it's going to make a lot more sense when I'm talking to you guys about certain things. Um, but I recently learned that I am an AuDHDer, and that's just like a term that they call it. It's like they took the word ADHD and autism and like smashed them together and created this like little term AuDHD. I don't think it's anything that's in the DSM-5. I think it's something that uh, I think it's a term that the neurodivergent community created that's like kind of used. And there's not a lot of research about ADHD. There's honestly not a lot of research about, you know, autism in women. And so this video that I'm making is like, it is, it is where it is in terms of like what I know right now, and what I know up to this point. But man, if I could tell you guys how transformational the last 2 weeks of my life have been, like it's been like 2 weeks since I learned this about myself. Like it's been a roller coaster of emotions. Like initially it felt, initially, like I'll give you some backstory. Like, about a year ago, there was a woman in a business group that I'm in that asked me, I was on a call with her, and she asked me if I was neurodivergent. And I said, I don't know what that means. And she explained a little bit about neurodiversity and was like, she was like, yeah, I have ADHD, and just some of the things that you said, it really reminded me of myself, and I just was curious. She was like, I definitely am not a person that can like diagnose anyone. She's like, I just, some of the things that you said really resonated with me. And I was like, oh, I thought that that was interesting. And so I remember after that call, at some point I like looked up ADHD in women and things like that, and like I I honestly didn't feel like I related. It talked about how like a lot of times women with ADHD can be like really disorganized, and I'm like, I'm not disorganized, I'm really organized. And it was like, saying how some women with ADHD can struggle with time management and be late to like meetings or things like that. And I'm like, I'm never late, I'm always early. Like so there were just like a lot of things that felt like they didn't like really fit me. But then I learned about this term called masking, and I was like, what is that? And it was talking about how if you do have, ADHD, you may be someone who has learned to compensate for your, I'm going to use this term that other people probably aren't using, but like deficiencies, like, or challenged areas like, you may have learned to make like accommodations for yourself so that you're not struggling in those areas. And it was like, there were questions like, okay, like, do you find that you aren't late for things, but are you like setting lots of reminders for yourself to not forget? And I'm like, yeah. And it's like, are you someone who says that, you don't ever forget your keys, but do you check your pockets like 50 times when you're out just to make sure you have your keys? And I'm like, yeah, I do that. I've done that, And it's just like, I'm just giving a few brief examples, but it was like, so during that initial conversation when she asked me if I was neurodivergent and I went and looked things up, like I felt like I really didn't relate. It wasn't until like a year later, I would say, that this term was brought up again to me, or like in a conversation that my husband and I were having with our marriage therapist. And she was like, I think what we might be dealing with here is some neurodivergence. And so anyway, like it basically sent me down like this rabbit hole of like, let me learn more about this. Let me learn more about, like, let me just learn more about this. And so I did. And I was just like, things were just like hitting so hard. I don't know if it was like the people's videos that I was watching or who I was following or what, but I'm like, oh my God, like, it's like I finally felt so understood. And I'm like, this is why I've been struggling so much, like in business, or this is why I've been struggling so much in these other areas of my life, or this is like, I have made all these accommodations. And I'm like, I never saw them as like accommodations. I just thought that I needed to do things for myself in a specific way. And that's just, I just thought that that was just like a quirk that I had, like just something that I did. And so when I started to learn and understand that there is like a community of people that struggle with the same things that I struggle with, and like make these things, they gave me a name for it, accommodations. Make accommodations for themselves so that they like remember things in their schedule, so that they don't forget things, so that they, you know, can focus, so that they like, I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, you know, just going down that rabbit hole, it was super healing. And then I learned about like AuDHD, and I was just like, I just put my head down, because I'm like, I cried on a few videos. Because I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. It's just like that moment where it's like, you think of all of the years and all of the time that you've like gone to therapy, and you've, you know, done self-exploration, and you've gone all of these ways to like help yourself. And like, up until now, like no one has like identified this in me. Like no one has like saw this. No one that I saw, like besides the girl that asked me a year ago, it's like, and besides like my marriage therapist, like bringing this, you know, topic up in our conversation, like I just think about all of the help that I've ever sought in my life, and I'm like, how did no one else ever see this inside of me? How, like, but then it's like, I have to be understanding, because there's not a lot of research. There's not a ton of research. Like, first of all, up until like 2013, you couldn't even have a dual diagnosis of ADHD and autism, because they're so paradoxical. People were like, well, if you got one, you can't have the other. Like, not people, the DSM. Like, you didn't used to be able to have both. And so it wasn't until 2013 that you were able to have dual diagnoses. 2013, what was that, fucking 10 years ago? Like, that wasn't even that long ago, you know? And so you think about like how behind we are, and like me learning that like a lot of the research that's about autism, for example, is based on like little white male children, like little white boys. Like, that's where the majority of research about autism is about. Like, they don't know really how autism, you know, is showing up that much in like BIPOC communities, or in transgender people, or in like you know, like the Black population. Like, it's just like there's so much more to be learned. And so I want to be straight up honest with you. Like, me going through this experience, like, and learning more about neurodivergence, like, this is a self-diagnosis for me. And I know that that is probably controversial for a lot of people, because it's like, self-diagnose, you can't be out here just, you know, why you gonna label yourself? You can't just be saying you got this and saying, and it's just like, you just have to dismiss people like that. Because if you're like me and you finally feel like you found the holy grail of understanding in your life, and you really resonate with a lot of these people who are sharing their experiences, like, you have to be willing to accept yourself for who you are. And like, nobody can tell you who you are. No one knows your struggles more than you. Like, you are the expert in your own experience. And like, and honestly, until they have more research to like, you know, say I'm wrong, you know what I mean? Like, until they have more research, like, I'm like, you guys can't even hold a candle. You just can't, you know? So I want you to know that you have permission to find yourself, especially if you're someone like me who has like limited resources in terms of like access to care. Like, I know that a lot of times, like, I've learned like testing for things like this, for like ADHD or autism, can be really costly or really expensive. And if you don't have insurance, or if you have like, like a kind of like a low grade insurance that doesn't cover a lot of things, like you may be someone who doesn't have access to someone who can diagnose you. And so it's really like, it's a personal journey. It's a personal journey. So I would just encourage you to, if you feel like you're struggling, like just look into this. Maybe my lighting is changing and being weird. Maybe you'll resonate with it, maybe you won't. But like for me, it's just like, wow. I feel excuse me, I finally feel so understood. And I finally feel like I can put my finger on the thing that I couldn't identify before. So I'm looking forward to making more videos about this. As I learn more and more, I'll share more and more. I'm at the very beginning of my journey. And I know that like down the line, as I continue to ingest more books and ingest more podcasts and ingest more videos and read more and study more, that I'll learn even more. But if you're interested in content like this and you just want to like join alongside me as I explore this, or as you explore you, like you are welcome to, like and subscribe and join this. I would love for you to join me on the journey. I'm going to keep it super Dougie. I'm going to keep it super real. I'm going to tell you when I know, and I'm going to tell you when I don't know. And I think that's what this is about. I named this channel the AuDHD RN because I am an RN. And I think back to the major medication error that I made in like 2015. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, man. I'm like, that's what burnout looks like in a neurodivergent person, and someone who is already like sensory overloaded. It's just like, I think about bedside nursing and I'm like, someone like me, I'm like, that is not the place for someone like me. And like, I'm not saying that like if you're a bedside nurse and you have AuDHD that it's not the place for you, but for me, the way that my body and brain is set up, it's like, it's almost like a nightmare scenario, So I'm really grateful that I became an entrepreneur, and it makes so much sense to me why I did. I really just wanted to live my life on my own terms, and I wanted to just remove people's expectations from me, because that was so overwhelming and demanding, and I just like could not keep up with that. I just couldn't keep up with it. And this is before I even knew that I was an ADHDer. I just knew that I experienced so much burnout as an RN that I just could not do it anymore. And so pursuing entrepreneurship has given me like, this level of freedom that I could have like never even dreamed of. And I'm really grateful because it allows me to give myself the thing that I need at any given moment. Like I don't have to put a bathroom break or giving myself water or taking a lunch break or anything, feeding myself. I don't have to put any of those things. I don't have to put another person before I take care of myself. I don't have to be like, I can't eat right now because my patient, is on pressers and their bag is gonna run dry and I need to go to pharmacy to like hang another presser, like, or I gotta give my patient their insulin, or I gotta like, I can't eat yet, I got an admission coming, like, that life is over for me. Like, I can't, like, that's like someone like me, that's like a worst nightmare, because it's like, if you're not able to take care of yourself, I mean, you just burn out. And it's like, and regular people burn out. Can you imagine someone who's like on the spectrum or neurodivergent, who's already sensory overloaded? It's like triple time. It's like you're at work and everything is like super fast paced, but you're on like 3x speed in your head and in your actions, and you're just moving. And it's like, it just was a recipe for disaster for me. So I made this channel and called it the AuDHD RN because I want other nurses out there to know, other RNs to know that like you can have AuDHD and still create a career for yourself. If entrepreneurship is like something for you that you feel like would give you the flexibility and freedom, like, so be it. I did pick up a part-time like teaching position. It's like a per diem teaching position. And like I'm looking forward to it because teaching is a lot like coaching, and I love coaching, but like, to be honest, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm a little bit nervous. And it's like, it took me so long to get to this place where I would even be willing to step foot into anything that was like nursing that like wasn't on my terms, for all of the reasons that I just stated. But being an entrepreneur, if you're not bringing enough in to sustain your household, it's like you have to figure out how to generate income. And just like my business wasn't generating enough to sustain me or sustain our lifestyle. So I'm like, I have to like find a way. So I was like, all right, well, you're going to go in with some boundaries this time, Global Kristen. Like, you know, we're not working overnight, we're not working holidays, and, you know, things like that. And it's like, and I'm not working at the bedside. So I think that being an instructor is really going to help me see a different angle. I can't tell you like I know exactly how this is going to be because I've never been a nursing instructor before. So I'm a little bit nervous about like feeling overwhelmed, and I'm a little bit nervous about like, you know, my capacity to like keep up. But the good thing is it's every other weekend. And so I have a lot of recovery time, and I'm really grateful for that. It's just every other weekend. And so I'm giving this a shot. The good thing about it is that it's temporary. It's not a full-time position. And, you know, my director was like, yeah, like if you want to do another like clinical rotation after this, you can. If you don't, you want to take a break, you can do that. And I'm like, wow, it feels like this is the type of flexibility that I need. So right now I'm just trying to like gear myself up for like making sure my body feels healthy and strong so that I can have a good amount of energy going in. It's like, I don't want to go in with like 50% energy. I want my body to feel nice and strong so that I can like make it through the days where I am going to be instructing other students. But we'll see, you know, I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, I hope this video is helpful to somebody. I'm looking forward to making more videos about this topic because this topic changed my life. This answered so many questions. And I think that some of my hesitancy for when I was going to share came from like, man, like, it's like you already know that like you'll probably get a lot of support, but you also will face criticism because there's a lot of, I mean, I even had my own ideas about like what ADHD looked like, which I thought was just like hyper kids, you know, and like what autism looked like, which is just like, you just, I don't know. I just had like an image of my mind of just like a young child who maybe had trouble like speaking or trouble, you know, and it's just like, if I wasn't even aware that like, you know, there's, you know, they always say that there's a spectrum, but if I haven't been like exposed to people like me who have ADHD and autism and like, you know, don't even know, like, I'm like, I didn't know that it could look like me. I didn't know that I could be someone who had ADHD and autism. No idea. Like totally over my head, no idea, you know? So I knew that I was going to face criticism at some point too, or whatever, that there was a possibility that I would face criticism because if there's a lot that people don't understand, they think they know you better than you. Like, oh, I know people with autism and that ain't you. My cousin got autism. They don't act like nothing like you. I mean, you got a job, you got a master's degree, you got, you know, you just hear all this chatter. And I just wasn't looking forward to that. I just wasn't looking forward to that. I just want to live my life. So this is me being honest. This is me being vulnerable. This is me being real. This is me being Global Kristen. And this is me sharing with you where I'm at right now. So again, if this resonates with you, please join me on this journey by liking and subscribing to my channel, the AuDHD RN. Share this video if you think it would be helpful for someone. And I love you. And that is all. And I will see you in my next video.